Good ball played in for Tony Morley. Oh, it must be! And it is! Peter Will!
Hello, and welcome to Gather Round Again, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you in association with Gather Round the Lamp podcast. We are live straight after the interesting 0-0 draw, which finished with only 20 men on the pitch between Ajax Amsterdam and, of course, the mighty Aston Villa. I am joined by my erstwhile colleague here. A huge welcome to Mr. Andy Bates at K2 Villa himself.
Hello, hi, hello everyone. Just finishing. It's a bit of a tricky one to watch. Was it? How do you think?
Just a little bit. I think that we may have had a. I think I've got the starting 11 on my face. Let me move it. I think we may have had a. I don't really know what to think. Like I'm overwhelmed a little bit by all of the emotion. I'm a little bit overwhelmed by all of the kind of pomp and circumstance. The Ajax fans I thought were just incredible all the way through. Just noise, and then we have to talk about the referee. There was 2 sendings off, very little in the way of goal mouth action, a potential another injury to Pau Torres, which I don't know if I can my nails can stand. Just a lot to talk about, but let's talk about it globally. And the Aston Villa, Ajax, 2 former European Cup winners going head to head. How is the occasion? We'll get to the football in a minute, but how has the occasion made you feel?
Really excited. I think just sort of the whole week really, since the Luton game, when sort of Monday comes round and you realise Villa are back in action in European competition again, and we're playing one of the biggest clubs in the world. And then just the buzz kind of all week. I think just on social media, obviously people we knew, and all the rest of it, sort of heading out to Amsterdam for the game. Really from Monday and Tuesday, going over there, putting the flags up around Amsterdam and stuff. And it's just really exciting. And I think it just shows what the kind of European competition and these big European nights means to the fans and the club. And it's just tremendous. But I've been saying for a while that I thought this game would try and catch the imagination a little bit of the wider public, the neutrals and the media. And I think it has, in a way. I think it will really sort of take off next week when obviously the deciding match. But really kind of exciting week. And this is what it feels like. This is what we've been waiting for so long, really, since we last played Ajax. And it's just been a really great build up. And do you know what brings it home to me? I've obviously watching. We always watch the normal sort of manic press conferences on a Friday and so on, but just having these kind of European ones on a Tuesday or Wednesday, it kind of I've always kind of envied that. Those memories of sort of Alex Ferguson and obviously Klopp and Guardiola doing these press conferences that are all over the telly, and now our manager's doing them as well, which just feels, brings it home a little bit more. I know it's a small thing, but it's something I've noticed.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. But not only that, but also kind of lots of the fanfare, seeing lots of the fan videos and people out last night enjoying the wonders of Amsterdam, and also enjoying it today, seeing the Villa fans chanting on the canals there. Major FOMO for me. I was terribly jealous of it all, but delighted also for the people that got to go. And it's just that kind of. There's something I said on a previous show where we reviewed the Luton game. There's something magic about it. There's some alchemy about it. There's something special about it. These are the nights that you tell your children and your grandchildren about one day, when the mighty Villa rocked up to Amsterdam or to Istanbul, or to, you know, beating Inter Milan on penalties, beating Ajax last time around. Like, these are really magical moments, and unfortunately the the game, or at least the first half, didn't really live up to the billing. Let's talk through the starting 11. Let me move so it's not on my face. So some changes. Uncle Unai rang the changes here, Andy. We saw Martinez, Konsa back at right back, with Matty Cash returning to the bench. We saw the return of the Pau and Longley relationship at centre back. Luca Dean in at left back for Moreno. Diaby, as we predicted, and many people predicted, taking the place of Leon Bailey after his match-winning assist at the weekend. Tim Iroegbunam in for what I believe was his first ever European start. I saw that he started a league game against Norwich a couple of years ago, but I think certainly his first European debut, and what a place to make it for him. Likewise, Morgan Rogers, who's gone from playing away at some of the choice championship grounds to the Johan Cruyff Arena in a few weeks. Douglas Luiz was in there. John McGinn rested, of course, and Tielemans or Watkins, the two up front. 5 changes was that to the 11 that beat Luton. A little bit risky, perhaps. I mean, how did you interpret the all these changes, Andy?
Yeah, I was kind of expecting a little bit of rotation. There's probably a little bit more than I expected, though. And even in terms of the shape, really, with Konsa moving to right back, I was a bit surprised about that. I assumed Matty Cash would probably stay at left back. I didn't expect Pau Torres to start, and I'm sure we'll talk about him in a bit. I assumed Konsa and Longley would start the game. Yeah, but it was good. It's really great to see Morgan Rogers and Iroegbunam in the starting lineup, and you know, what a night for them! what an atmosphere to be playing in as well.
Baptism
That'll
of
really
fire,
stand them
if you
in
will,
good stead, because they, you know, absolutely, yeah, and this is what helped players, I think, and certainly Iroegbunam, I thought was really steady the whole game, and that'll do him. He did go off. I don't know if he's picked up a knock, but yeah, really pleased with the start lineup, and that's kind of what I like to see, is that, you know, the manager having a bit of faith in some of the young players and some of the squad players, because he can't really afford not to. He's got to give them those opportunities as much as anything to kind of take the pressure off some of the starters who's going to be relying on at the weekend. So very excited by some exciting. He really likes Rogers and wants to get him up to speed, and he's willing to trust Iroegbunam, you know, in the central midfield in a huge game like that. So great stuff. What were your thoughts on that lineup?
Yeah, I think I was pleased that I was pleased with the rotation, because I did think McGinn needed a rest, and he got one, although he ended up at centre half. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, and certainly it seems like the manager had one eye on the big clash on Sunday with this rotation, and he also, you know, Unai Emery, he's a specialist. He understands that this is 180 minutes worth of a tie, and I think that he believed that this team, and he was right, could get some kind of result in Holland, and we did today. A 0-0 draw may not be exactly what everyone wanted, but a draw away from home, I think, in Europe is pretty good. I mean, I was also very impressed with Tim Iroegbunam. I think he went off with some cramp, which is understandable. Probably hasn't played a full 90 minutes, certainly at this standard, since his maybe ever, but certainly not since his QPR days. He had interrupted pre-season, let's not forget, and although he played some games, I think, for the under-23s. Obviously, it's nothing like this. So he went off with a bit of cramp, understandable. Morgan Rogers, I thought, was much better in terms of his defensive diligence this time out. He was giving his fullback in Luca Dean a lot more support than Moreno got at the weekend. So that's good to see that he's learning so quickly. And the quality, as you alluded to in our previous show, Andy, on the ball that Morgan Rogers has is clear for all to see. You can see already he has something. Whether he can kind of transition that something into a top tier Premier League player, time will tell, but time is certainly on his side. But the pedigree's there. You can already see flashes of that. And anytime we get young players on the pitch, I'm happy. I like to see it. We just need a Kane Kessler Hayden cameo now, and we'll have completed the set, Andy.
Yeah, maybe next week.
Maybe.
I think. Yeah, I mean, he's again. Even for him, sort of being there on the bench, and Gauchi, the goalkeeper, on the bench as well. These are great experiences, aren't these type of fixtures. So, yeah, really pleased. I don't know. I just feel. I know, we came into the game. It was a little bit stodgy. You just want to be involved in these nights, and yeah, I would have loved to have been there, but just watching and seeing that team, and Ajax really as favourites. There was a real feeling that, certainly on the commentary as well over sports, that Ajax were the they're absolutely delighted with that result at the end.
Yeah, I mean, the Ajax fans seemed really buoyant. They seemed really delighted. Again, the atmosphere was something to behold. In terms of reviewing the game, not a lot of action to really discuss and talk about in the first half. I think Villa's biggest chance fell to Moussa Diaby, who had an interesting game. He had a shot kind of straight into the arms of the goalkeeper. A little bit stagnated. We've given some love to Irugbunam and Rogers, but two of our more senior players, two of our more expensive recruits, Tielemans on a free, admittedly, but at least in terms of wages, Tielemans and Diaby, I think I would have liked to have seen a bit more from these two in this kind of game, as two of our more established international players and two of our highest earners. I mean, is that fair, Andy, or am I being a bit harsh on the lads there?
No, I don't think you're being harsh. I think certainly Tielemans. I was pretty pleased with Diaby, because he's been so out of form, really, and so lacking in confidence. And I think he got that really assist at Luton, and that would have given him a huge boost, as we sort of said on the main show earlier in the week. And I think it was really important that he got this game, and he had a bit of a run, didn't he? And he was having a ball. Yeah, could have probably done a little bit better with that chance, but it wasn't. He didn't have an awful lot of choice about where to put his shot. Really, he was fairly crowded out, and I just felt that it was nice to see him having a go. He wasn't just taking the ball and laying it off, like Mr. Grealish tends to do at IT. He was having a go and trying to make things happen. I don't know what to think about Tielemans. I really don't. I think there are games where he just looks like really in the flow, really, really on point with his passing. And then, like tonight, he just looks like he wants way too much time on the ball. And he got crowded out so much, and he was giving the ball away all the time, and he just looked a bit lost, really. I don't know whether Ajax had done a particular job on compared to the Villa midfield. I thought Ajax did a really good job of tightening the midfield and closing down the options. I think it looked like they put a box midfield in, and they're really, really pressured Villa in midfield and made it really, really difficult for us to play through. And I thought that they did really cover that. It did mean that our players did look a little bit rushed on the ball, and I thought Dougie gave the ball away an awful lot as well. And it was a difficult, I think, for the fielders. But yeah, I want to see more Tielemans. You know, let's hope he can perhaps he.
No, I was just gonna say, is this an element of him playing out of position? He's definitely had a major impact being in that number 10 role, but you wouldn't say he's a natural forward. He's certainly spent most of his career at Leicester and for Belgium playing much deeper on the field. So is it just sometimes it's just a little bit, it's because it's a different skill set. Sometimes if you're playing a little bit deeper, you have a little bit more time on space on the ball, but whereas at the cutting end of the pitch, as it were, you've got 3 or 4 men converging on you at all times, and he sometimes looks a little bit slow, if that's fair.
Yeah.
So is it that, do you think, or is he just not at the races at the minute?
I think he's just the idea is that he's kind of in there between kind of Douglas Luiz and what he's kind of finding those pockets between the lines. But I think he did just get a little bit crowded out, and where they had a particular plan, and I think they set up back 3 as well. So they had a spare man on him. I'm not sure, but he didn't and seemed to have a goal a lot, and I don't know if that's really his game, to be honest. I'm not entirely convinced that there's a place for him in our system, really. At Leicester, he had a lot of joy playing in a midfield, and we just don't do that. And he wouldn't get in it anyway when everyone's fit. So I think it's a tricky position that he's in, really. But I mean, he's just, yeah. It's a. I don't know what to think. It was a bit of a quiet game for him, and he was off form. But then, on Sunday he could be dynamite again. You don't know. He's perhaps one of them sort of players.
So let me put this to you, Andy. We've had some FFP news this week, or at least the accounts have been published. Aston Villa lost a lot of money, over £100 million in the year. We're not going to go into a full PSR episode here, but if Villa do need to raise some money, you've signed Tielemans on a free transfer. Obviously, there's add-on, there's signing on fees and stuff like that, but nothing like the 30 or 40 million you would have had to pay to buy him out of his contract at Leicester 2 or 3 years ago. Bearing in mind that he would represent basically full profit from an FFP standpoint, having come in on a free transfer. Based on what you've just said, and I might be putting 2 and 2 together here and coming up with 5, would Tielemans be someone that you would listen to offers for in the summer if the right kind of bid came along, and if Villa do need to raise some money, as is suspected?
Well, yeah, I think you'd have to, wouldn't you? You'd have to take that opportunity if someone wanted to buy him. I mean, I imagine his wages are pretty hefty, and whether anyone would be too keen to take those wages on, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, if someone came in with an offer, you'd probably take it, because like you would get that profit from him, wouldn't you? So, and I'm not seeing any signs that he's gonna nail down a position in the team, really. I think he's played a lot more than I thought he would, to be honest. When we first sort of saw him during the season, I really wasn't overly impressed. But he
had a bad
start,
I think, to be fair.
Came into it a little bit, and he was playing more off the left. Yeah, he did. Yeah, and he was playing off the left a little bit, and he looked better then. Then he got injured again, and it's just been a bit stop-start for him, hasn't it? And I just don't see him troubling the first team at all. And Yeah, I think they, because what they're going to do really is in the summer is try and find someone to replace Camera, and of course we don't know what's going to happen with Douglas Luiz, really, do we? So whether Tielemans is capable of stepping up into either of their shoes, I'm not sure. But
I've opened Pandora's
he
box here,
doesn't
haven't
seem
I?
to be trusted in the central midfield in that regard.
Yeah,
A little bit,
a little bit. All right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it is food for thought. If we do need to raise money, Tielemans would present, as far as I understand, as he's a free transfer. Obviously, there's no fee to be kind of realized over the course of the contract, the amortization thing. So I presume he would be akin to an academy product, I guess. But I don't know that for sure. But we can certainly talk about that in due course. A couple of more important moments from an otherwise dull first half. Brobby, the number 9 for Ajax, goes through, hits the side netting, finds a big channel in between Clement Longley and Ezri Konsa, and I was kind of having nightmares about that being Son bearing in on goal and just sliding it into the bottom corner on Sunday. But fortunately for us, Brobby is not cut from the same cloth, and he smashed it into the side netting and didn't even work the keeper, which was interesting. But even more interesting, or more interesting in terms of foreshadowing what was to come, Ezri Konsa gets what I thought was fouled in the middle of the park, does what he always does, falls onto the ball and grabs it. The referee takes this as a deliberate kind of professional foul, deliberately stopping an Ajax counter-attack, and books him. And obviously that would come to be meaningful in the second half. So speaking of the second half, at half-time, Pau Torres withdrawn, and again, I was hitting panic stations. I've since heard from our trusty group chat from our buddy James that Emery's come out in his presser and said that apparently Pau was always only to play 45 minutes and he's fine. So that's good, but it's also worrying, I guess, in a more broad sense about Pau Torres, that he seems to have a little bit of the Darren Andertons about him in recent weeks, becoming a little bit of an injury concern, Andy.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was. I mean, I've just read that message myself, and I had that feeling that he was probably only ever going to play half the game. I expected him, like I say, not to start the game, and I thought they'd keep him back really. But obviously, felt that they need to get minutes into him. I suppose the question is whether first leg European against Ajax is the time to getting minutes into people. I don't know how I feel about that really, but I guess you just have to trust what they're trying to do really. And I mean, in the end, I was quite pleased because I was, just as you were sort of having about Torres going off, I was having kittens about Longley not being able to use his right foot to kick a football in anywhere, and having to turn around and play it back every time he got the ball. So I was pleased to see him move over to the left side where he obviously looked a lot more comfortable. I don't know with Torres. Just have to wait and see, aren't we? There might be something they're managing in the background, and we're not aware of the full thing, and they're just trying to get him through as many games as possible.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he's a big difference maker for us, but a little bit worrying. He's just not been right since before Christmas now, and as we are in spring, the daffodils are up, as Steve Bruce would say. In my front garden, anyway, the daffodils are springing up, and we need Pau Torres for the run-in. Someone else we need for the run-in is Captain John McGinn. He came on in 63 minutes. Moussa Diaby made way. Leon Bailey also came on. Rogers went off. Matty Cash came on for Pau Torres. And as you say, we went to the traditional back four. And Villas just couldn't get going in the second half. It wasn't like I would say Ajax were peppering the goal. Martinez, I think, made one good save, but he's collected some crosses. But neither team really were fashioning too many clear-cut chances in this game, and that's an interesting thing because Ajax, from all the previews that I've seen, have been conceding goals for fun. all season. We've been conceding goals for fun in the last few weeks. So it really interesting that we just couldn't seem to really be as penetrative as we normally are. I kind of put this down a little bit to maybe some of our players being a little bit overawed by the atmosphere. Lots of novices, lots of rookies in terms of playing away at big European venues. Only really players that I think will have done that before in this way would have been Luca Dean, obviously former Barcelona and PSG guy. Pau Torres has played in big European nights. Longley will have. And that's about... And Tielemans for Leicester in the Champions League. They had a cup of coffee in the Champions League, obviously, a couple of years ago. But other than that, everyone else is kind of a little bit new to it. And it felt as though we weren't our full Aston Villa selves. Do you think that was by design? Was Emery holding something back? Was he playing for a draw and get them back to Villa Park? Or do you think we were just a little bit overawed by the atmosphere and just couldn't get going?
Yeah, I think there was an element of game management, but to be honest, there may have been a bit of nervousness as well. But I think that was on both sides. I think that probably accounts for some of the sort of stodginess of the game. Really. It was just. It felt like Villa were very contained in what they were doing. They weren't panicking. They were struggling a little bit with Ajax's press, and they just kind of kept going really, and felt confident in a setup, and were quite happy to get out of there. I think with a 0-0. If they'd have nicked it at the end, then all well and good. But I think they're more than confident going back to Villa Park with a 0-0. I thought we looked a little bit more lively second half. Maybe sort of Bailey and McGinn coming on. And Zaniolo, I thought, looked pretty bright as well. When they came on, it kind of gave us a little impetus, maybe. But
Trivia question here,
a professional job, wasn't it?
You mentioned Zaniolo there. I would like to know, Andy, has Zaniolo ever came on as a substitute and not been booked for Aston Villa? Is that a thing? Does that exist?
I don't know. Is that? I don't know. Am I missing that? I don't know.
He's always get him and John Duran seem to have a booking contest. Every time they come on as a sub, they pick up some kind of booking for some rash challenge. It seems to me, but maybe I'm seeing things.
Zaniolo's booking was a joke. Zaniolo's should never have booked. It's ridiculous.
Speaking of ridiculous bookings,
he got fouled.
He did get fouled, I thought, but the referee was a little bit whistle happy throughout, particularly for Aston Villa. He was also very, very freewheeling with his yellow cards. And former Middlesbrough star Chuba Akpom. I don't know if he was at the club at the same time as Morgan Rogers, but Morgan Rogers has left the field by then anyway. Maybe they had a little reunion, a little hug. No. If they were former teammates, I don't know. But Chuba Akpom came on, and he is racing through on goal. There's a coming together. The referee judges that Ezri Konsa has fouled him while going through on goal, and brings out the second yellow card on the 83rd minute. And Ezri Konsa is sent off in Europe, suspended now, I would assume, at least for the next game against Ajax at home, if not more. It should be progressed further. He may miss one of the quarterfinal legs. I don't know what the rules are with that. What did you make of this decision? Villa down to 10 men in the 83rd minute, and Konsa sent for an early shower.
Yeah, it looked. First glance, I just thought he looked a bit silly. Really, he's got hold of Akpom, and it's a little bit. Kind of a bit of both, isn't it? 6-1, half a dozen of the other. But I thought on the second look, it really looked a little bit soft. I think when someone's going in on goal like that, you get a yellow. If you get a yellow card, you consider yourself lucky. Unfortunately, he'd already had that booking in the first half, and that one, which I would dispute more, because he fouled on that occasion and fell on the ball and expected to get foul. I suppose you could say you play to the whistle, don't you? But that's the one that I'd be more aggrieved at. Really, I thought this one was probably just about a booking. And yeah, he'll miss the home leg. Fortunately for us, it looks like Diego Carlos is back, so he'll just come in, I guess, and Makash start at right back. It's it was disappointing, really, and it potentially put us in a difficult sort of last few minutes of the game. If Ajax had taken advantage of that, really.
It did, and now our buddy. Our old buddy Mark is in the comments here with a saying Herbie Hyde playing up front for Ajax was a surprise. Now there's a blast from the past. I love a bit of a random reference, but that one tops anything that I could come up with. But that was it, Andy. As you say, no sooner had Villa gone down to 10 men, and you're thinking, 83rd minute, home crowd are up. But no less than 3 minutes later, Tristan Gooijer is how I'm pronouncing it. Tristan Gooijer has mercilessly taken down, I think, Zaniolo, who was bright. As I say, I agree with you, Andy, when he came on from behind, a slide tackle from behind, no chance of getting the ball. Zaniolo was also covered by a teammate close to the halfway line, going nowhere fast. Really surprising that he did that, and the referee booked him, I think, before he realised that he was someone that was already on a booking, and then all of a sudden it's 10v10, and then all of a sudden that kind of last 5 minutes or so plus stoppage time, it turns into a bit of a basketball game. It was the most action that we saw was during those moments, and that became a real interesting. That was the most entertaining period of the match for me anyway. Leon Bailey with the volley, which looked goal bound, which was wonderfully intercepted. A couple of breaks for Ajax as well. And most of all, John McGinn, now having played everywhere for Aston Villa, I think, except goalkeeper, slotting in at right centre half. What did you make of this kind of harem scarum last 10 minutes, 10v10 Ajax versus Villa?
That's great, isn't it? Cup football, that's what it's all about. Really. Obviously, would have been less enjoyable if we'd have come alongside of it, but. Yeah, I mean, close to nicking it, really. I thought, it was a fantastic block by the Ajax defender. I can't remember who it was, and look for all the world like you're going to slam that one in the bottom corner, and and obviously we had a couple of corners and that sort of thing. But yeah, I said on our group chat, good players can play anywhere. I'd back John McGinn to have a good game wherever he was, to be fair. But I'm sure it was a little bit of a new one for him, maybe.
Yeah, I think we'd run out. Diego Carlos was on the bench, but we'd run out of substitutes anyway at that point in time, and yeah, it was a completely bonkers end to the game. Villa we don't have to wait 2 weeks like in the old days. We're playing again 1 week from today, home to Ajax. Did you see anything from Ajax to make you feel like we're in jeopardy here, or do you have faith that we can get the job done at Villa Park in front of our own fans next Thursday night?
Yeah, I think we've got a much better performance in us. Listening to the commentators and really listening to the way the Ajax fans were absolutely overjoyed as a result. I get the feeling that's probably their best performance of the season, which is amazing to say that about Ajax, but. But I think we've got levels to go into. I think we'll put on a much better performance of that at home. The only thing you've got to say about any Ajax team is that technically they're going to be good, and tactically they can always pull something out of the bag, because that's what they do. That's what they've done for decades. Whoever's been in the dugout or in those Ajax shirts. They're capable of great things, aren't they? There's something about that club. So that's the thing worry about. And the fact that they did do a little bit of a number on our midfield and our game today, and kind of stifled us really. But I think we've got levels to go into. We've got gears to go to, and I can only really see one winner next week, all being equal.
Well, we will look forward to that match next week. We have obviously check out the main show for our preview versus Spurs. I went for a 3-1 win. Andy went for a 3-1 win. He stole it from me. And I went for a 4-1 win. But I think that hopefully we've come through that unscathed. McGinn certainly had some rest. Konsa had the last few minutes off as well. Some good rotation, so we should be able to go into the Spurs game fresh. And in terms of a start to the week, this is a really pivotal week in our season. Obviously, Ajax twice to try and make it through to the quarterfinals of this trophy here, and Spurs in what is a top 4 6-pointer. So we are a third of the way through of this kind of trilogy of major matches. Andy, what's your position here? Thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs in the middle?
I'm pleased with that tonight. Thumbs up for me tonight. I think that was a very sort of astute, sort of tactical performance, and very contained. And I think we've got, like I say, we've got gears to go into, and I think we've got energy in the bank for Sunday. So I'm more than happy with that, and hopefully wins at Villa Park coming up.
Absolutely, and you'll be there, Andy, on Sunday in full voice, I'm sure, enjoying yourself. That is all we have time for today. Thank you so much for Andy, my buddy at K2 Villa on Twitter. You can find me at Craig Storrod on Twitter. This is Gather Round Again, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you in association with underagaslitlamp.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your comments. Please do the likey and subscribey thing. And we will see you hopefully next week after a 4-0 win at home against Ajax to take us romping through to the quarterfinals of the Cup. Thank everyone for listening, and good night. Thank you for tuning in to Gather Round Again, an Aston Villa podcast. Please like down below and subscribe. Up the Villa.
Daly and Atkinson on one of those great runs. What a run by Daly and Atkinson. Atkinson again. And it's Dwight York.